Hi, this is Mr. Nazarian. Our learning objective today, I can divide decimals to the hundredths using what I know about place value. It's 5th grade standard, numbers base 10, B7. Okay, so the way that we're going to approach dividing with decimals is the same way that we would when we've divided whole numbers or divided with fractions. It really is looking at the core of what is it that we're asked to do here. And what we're asked to find out is how many groups of this divisor there are in the dividend. So in this case, how many groups of 2/10 are there in 8/10? So to show a visual representation of this math problem, we are going to approach it very similar to how we did with dividing fractions. So first we're going to want to show what the dividend looks like. So this 8/10 is going to be 8 of these columns, because each of these columns represents 1/10, right? There's 10 columns in this grid. So that means that each one is 1/10, so therefore I'm going to shade in 8 of the columns to represent 8/10. Oops. And 8. Okay, so I have 8/10 here, so now that shows us the dividend, so what we have to begin with. And now we want to break them up into groups, and we want to break them up into groups of 2/10. So we want to find out how many groups of 2/10 will there be. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put these groups together. So I have a group here of 2/10, right? I just want to put these tenths together. So I have 2 of them here. Here's another group of 2/10. Here's another group of 2/10. And finally, one last group of 2/10. All out of tenths now. So as we can see, each one of these is one group. We can see, remember the question is, how many groups of 2/10 are there in 8/10? And you can see right here that there are 4 groups of 2/10 in 8/10. So the quotient for 8/10 divided by 2/10 would be 4. Now, we're going to look at another similar problem, but it's a little bit different. So we'll see what if maybe there's a connection between these two equations. So this one, we're looking at 8/10, so the same dividend, but now the divisor has changed, and instead of dividing by 2/10, we're dividing by 2/100. So each of these little squares here represents 1/100th, because there are 100 of these little squares in the big square. So again, this problem is asking how many groups of 2/100ths, which would be 2 of these little squares, are there in this entire shaded section of the one hole. So I would group these together. So I'd say that's one group of 2/100ths, and so forth. So I'll go as fast as I can here. Whoops, and even if it's a little bit messy, just because for sake of time. But as I'm doing that, I want you to think about, make a prediction. How many groups of these 2/100ths are there going to be in 8/10? Think about that. And keep going around here. Again, sorry about the time, but just how many groups? There are a lot of groups of 2/10 that make up this, or 2/100ths, excuse me, in the 8/10. Okay. Go around, round. Okay. So now we can count all these up, right? Go 1, 2, 3, and count them all around and see how many different groups of 2/100ths there are. Or we could use what we know about the area model to say, well, that here's 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, so it's 4 groups wide times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 groups long. So that would be how many groups total? It would be 40 groups. So that tells me that if I had 8/10 and I divided by 2/100ths, I would have 40 groups of 2/100ths. So I'm going to take a look back at our last problem, which was 8/10 divided by 2/10. The quotient was 4. That's what that looked like. And then the more recent problem, which was 8/10 so we had the same dividend, but our divisor was different. It's divided by 2/100ths as opposed to 2/10ths. And instead of a quotient of 4, we got a quotient of 40, which looked like this. So we had 8/10ths divided by 2/10ths equals 4, and 8/10ths divided by 2/100ths equals 40. Do you see a relationship between those two equations? Okay, so we will work on these kind of problems tomorrow and have a great discussion. All right, can't wait till then. See you then.